Hello, staff. Welcome to the 2024 professional development session. This is the plan and an overview of what our professional development will look like this year in 2024 and going forward. Now, if I asked you to brainstorm what comes to mind when you think of PD, you may have some different responses. Many of you will have responses similar to these two. I asked 10 teachers to give me their responses. There were actually some curse words in there, what they think of when they think of PD. So I didn't get a lot of positive feedback. These two in particular, the thing we have to do to convince the state that we are worthy of keeping our jobs, though the state does little to improve the system. And it seems like a box to check and give people the ability to pull money out of a system that has no money instead of giving it to the people who need and deserve the money, the teacher. So very kind of negative ones first for this feedback. Maybe you have some similar experiences in the past with PD that kind of went nowhere, or you thought it was top down coming from the administrators. You had no say in the PD, or it was a one and done and abandoned. No more. By the way, this first quote here was from an actual department chair. So a person with administrative, sort of a pseudo administrator, was still very negative about PD. And that shouldn't shock you because even the research that we've gone over, uh, principals state, and Reeves claims in their article, that school plans are a frustrating waste of time. School plans being professional development plans that were implemented in classrooms. Also, the Bradley, Groff, and Rohrer and Evans talk about how the PD mindset, which in this case is not a good thing, is sporadic, one-time events, in-service sessions, guest speakers, webinars, and workshops that are not part of a larger plan or vision. I'm sure many of you have experienced this in your professional careers. So, well, what does this have to do with what I'm doing in my classroom? How long is this going to go? It's sort of not related to what you're doing in your classroom or the school is doing. And look at this study here. This is a 1,343 studies from the What Works Clearinghouse, which is an arm of the Department of Education, found that only 9 of the studies of those 1,300 plus met their own standards of credible evidence. Now, of the 9, this is a positive thing. The research did show that they do have shared characteristics. Many of them all of them happen to be workshops, which was surprising to the authors. Outside experts. So having of those 9 ones that do meet the standards, outside experts are very great. Once you've figured out what you kind of want, having an outside expert will be very helpful in talking to the staff, working out any kind of issues, answering questions. Also, professional development that's works needs time and it needs follow up. So, and then also they mentioned that the content, that the 9 studies all focused on specific subject related content or pedagogic practices. Now, we are probably not going to maybe have subject related content in ours. We might. We have to figure out what we're actually going to focus in on, and that is going to be something that you are going to do, which we'll talk about in a second too. Research also tells us that we should shift from that PD mindset, which is kind of a negative, has a negative connotation, to a professional learning mindset, in which professional learning and growth are centered around accelerating personal and collective learning. So it's not just your learning, but the learning of the group as a whole, to close the gap. And this is very important. We're going to close a gap of some kind in that classroom. We're going to look at our data, or you're going to come up with something on your own. We're going to identify something we want to change in the school that is going to affect student learning in the classroom, and we are going to go with that as our first initiative as the school year. Shifting from PD mindset to a professional learning mindset, it's going to take time. We have to keep at it, intentionality and investment. We need to have focus. We need to translate our goals into progress indicators, and we need to have specific actions we're working on. We need to share ownership of the goals and progress indicators, good or bad, and we need to make mid-course corrections. And the example they give, and I really did enjoy this, is a good example, is that if you have a student who enters your classroom 3 years behind on their reading level, and you just start teaching them without making any adjustments, like you're teaching every other student or the one next to them who's not 3 years behind on the reading, you're not really serving a purpose to help that student. You're not adjusting what you need. You're not making those mid-course corrections to help this student get their reading levels back up to where they need to be. Also, some research suggests that in terms of time, it might take 14 hours, a minimum of 14 hours to be effective. So it just depends on the person and the initiative. We do need coaching. Now, this coaching should be ongoing. It's not going to be tied to any kind of evaluation process, any of that stuff. But we will use this coaching ongoing throughout the course of the year. And you can see here, teachers value or likely to value PD that is directly supports their instructional practices. We're going to make this something that you're going to use in your classroom and that you're going to see, positive results from that. That is our ultimate goal, is we need positive results in the classroom and student learning. So you also need to feel comfortable to make mistakes, as mentioned here, because mistakes are part of growth, and that is going to take time and reflection to make those mistakes, improve from those mistakes, and move forward. Research also says that adults must feel safe to learn. That kind of goes back with those mistakes part. Adults must come to learning with their own histories. We want agency in our learning. We want to learn, and we need practice to internalize that learning. We also want to know why we're learning something, but that won't be an issue because we're coming up with our own plan. Hopefully it won't be an issue. Our professional learning going forward, our professional development going forward. Our PD will be ours, not mine. It's not going to be a top-down initiative. You will all have a voice, whether that's through email and one-on-ones, small groups, or in addressing the larger staff as a whole. Our plan will be evidence-based. That's very important. The research says that you should have evidence-based plans put in place. Our plan will improve classroom learning. Our plan will be monitored. We went over that. We will make mistakes, of course, and we will have time to reflect on our progress and make any adjustments before we move our plan forward further. Now, your needs, this is going through an email to you today. I need this back in 2 days, but I'm going to ask you what your needs are. So I need to have a needs-based assessment. I need to figure out what's going on in the school. Do you have any plans that you think would work? Something you've tried or implemented in your classroom? That's one of the questions I'm going to ask you. I'm also going to see, do you think the idea would lead to a change in instructional practice that would positively impact student learning? So whatever your plan might be, will it have an effect on student learning? That's very important. Would you be willing to help? So I'm looking for volunteers to help with these PD sessions, monitoring, all of these things. We're looking for experts. If you're an expert in some area, well, please feel free to step up and maybe talk to the staff. Implementing the plan. Each teacher is expected to participate, and each teacher will have that voice, whether that is, like I said, one-on-one, speaking to the team that's coming in to monitor and observe. That will be part of your voice. This plan will have more than one phase. So phase 1 is going to be the first 3 weeks of school, and then we'll adjust, move on to phase 2. There will be more than one goal, but our old goals will always be to help increase student learning. And each teacher, I'm expecting this, will learn at a different pace. Some of you will pick this up a lot faster than others. That's okay. Monitoring the plan. We will have teams of 2 to 3 teachers that will be volunteer monitoring teams that will visit classrooms every Friday afternoon. The BLT will also be a part of this, and administrators. Implementation of our plan is something we will all do, but it is not tied to your evaluation. We will re-evaluate after 3 weeks, reflect, adjust, and set new goals going forward. And lastly, evaluating the plan. We're going to evaluate it school-wide. Have another meeting in 3 weeks, discuss successes and failures of the plan, how we feel, and we will make adjustments and set new goals going forward. This is not a one-time initiative. This will not be abandoned like your other PDs. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.